everyone. This is Tamara from shelfaddiction.com, and welcome to episode 130. Tonight on Book Chat, I'm talking with author C.K. Brooke. She's sharing her top 5 romance at sea book recommendations, as well as sharing about her own romance series that also takes place on the sea. C.K. Brooke is an Amazon best-selling, award-winning indie author of over a dozen romance and fantasy novels and novellas. Her debut novel, The Duchess Quest, was selected by Shelf Unbound magazine as a top 100 notable indie books of 2015 and received 5 stars from readers' favorite book reviews and award contest. In 2017, her YA novel, Secrets of Artemis, received the Indie Brag Medallion Award. More of her publications have been nominated in the 2017 Roan Awards and Global eBook Awards. CK's social media links are below in the show notes, so if you'd like to connect, you know where to find her. If you enjoyed today's episode, please like and share it. Show your support by rating the podcast and leaving a positive review on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts. This podcast can be found on the Spreaker app, YouTube, and virtually any podcast app of your choosing. If you'd like to comment on something you hear during today's episode, you can find me on Twitter at shelfaddiction. If you'd like to email in feedback or questions, feel free to reach out to me at info@shelfaddiction.com or call in and leave an internet voice message on SpeakPipe. The link is below in the show notes. Hey, Katie, thanks for joining me today. How are you?
I'm great. How are you, Tamara?
I'm doing wonderful. I'm very excited today because we're talking about romances at sea. And I know you're an expert with romances at sea.
I don't know about expert, but I try.
I'm super excited because recently this subgenre, it's like romance and fantasy kind of bundled into one. But recently I've read a YA pirate book and I liked it more than I ever thought I could. And that was my first time reading a pirate type, genre book, and I'm like super excited to hear about more now.
Oh, well, what book was that, if you don't mind me asking?
The Daughter of the Pirate King by Trisha Levenseller.
I'm gonna have to check that out. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, it's YA though.
Yeah, I love YA.
It was really good. I read it for book club, and it really took me by surprise how much I liked it. So
I'm definitely gonna check that out.
Oh, awesome! Because now I'm like, I want more. So and I knew you'd be the one to tell me the best ones.
Awesome. All right. Well, I came here with my top 5 romances at sea. So some of these are YA, but they're all more about the romance. But yeah, I came here prepared with my list. So whenever you're ready, we can start with number 5.
All right. So we're going to do the countdown style, right? So is number 1 your highest recommendation?
Correct.
Okay. Awesome. So yeah, let's start with number 5.
Okay. So number 5 is this sweet little historical romance from Avon Teen, back when they used to do that, called Catherine and the Pirate. And it's by Karen Hawkins, who's a very prolific romance writer. And Catherine and the Pirate, it's just this sweet story about this, I think, like 17-year-old girl from Boston. I think it's just about post-revolutionary era, and her brother has been kidnapped. So she's on a mission to save him, but she needs the help of her brother's friend who has a past of piracy, but he's trying to clean up his act. And so she's very much in love with him, but he doesn't feel he deserves her because of his sordid past of piracy. So it's just this very sweet, clean teen romance, but it was just such a delight to read. It just puts you in that warm, happy place.
Oh, okay. So that's nice and chill for those that don't like too much spice, and it's
Correct. Exactly. It's very chaste. It's a pirate romance that you can give your kids.
Okay. But will adults like it too?
Yes, I read it as an adult and I just found it charming and fast-paced and just a sweet story. Almost like a Hallmark movie style.
It's funny that you mentioned Hallmark movies because those are so fun this time of year when you're inside with your boo cuddling.
That's
you're like,
right.
oh, let's watch a Hallmark movie. Cheese ball.
Yeah, exactly. Nice time to spend indoors when it starts getting chilly out, Okay, and number 4, we have Cyrena by Donna Jo Napoli. And this one is an oldie but a goodie. By oldie, I mean, I think it came out like 1998, late 90s, something like that. And I don't even know if the print books are even still in circulation, but I know the ebook is. And this is another young adult book But it is the most beautiful mermaid romance I've ever read. It's absolutely just tear-jerking and haunting and just a lovely story. And so, in a nutshell, it's ancient Greek mermaids, and they're not as evil as everybody says they are. I guess sirens. They're not as evil as they were in the Odyssey and the Iliad. And Cyrena is a mermaid who doesn't want to hurt anybody. There are a bunch of men who died in a tragic misunderstanding. It was an accident, and she feels responsible. So she lives isolated on an island, but one day there's a man who's shipwrecked there, and they fall in love, and it's just this beautiful story. So if you love ancient Greek mythology and mermaids and a clean but totally gripping young adult romance story, Cyrena is my favorite mermaid book.
You actually buy them as a couple then? You feel like strongly about them? Very
strongly. Like more so than I've felt in reading most adult romance novels.
Wow. That says a lot.
I know. I find the young adult, because they're not so preoccupied with sex, that they spend more time on the relationship, and you can really buy that deep feeling, deep affection.
Now, see, that's the fun thing about YA, like you said, but also you always, well, personally, I do read a fair amount of YA, so I always wonder about the teenage angst amount. How angsty is it, do you think?
Oh, in terms of this book, Cyrena? Oh, this was written before angst was a thing, before YA angst was even a thing. I mean, this could really, do you remember back kind of in the late 90s when young adult fiction was still like serious and it wasn't as commercial, if you recall that kind of style. And this is just all around. I mean, I almost hate to call it YA because it's just all around the beautiful book. It's like kind of like almost like a little classic. But it's a very easy read. Donna Jo Napoli writes in this very simple, short sentences, action verb to the point. She has this very simple, almost like Hemingway style of writing, but it's addicting and it's very well done.
Okay, noted. I like it. What's your number 3?
Number 3. Okay, now we're going to jump into grown-up land, and this is going to be something steamy, so this one isn't for the kids. Okay. And this one is A Pirate's Ransom by Jerry Brousseau. And this was the first steamy pirate romance that I had ever read, and I was fanning myself off woo, it was delightful. It was published by Soulmate Publishing. I know they have another one. I believe the author actually attended Rust City, which we both attended, where we met, and so I know that publisher does some of these at-sea romances. But yeah, this one, A Pirate's Ransom, it's your typical kidnapped by pirates, but she falls in love with the pirate captain type of story. But it's actually very well done. There are several twists and turns that the plot takes that I never would have been expecting. There are side characters that are really lovable and flavorful. Like they have this strong personality where they just jump off the page. And I guess my only complaint about it was that there were some errors in it, like the editing kind of needed another solid comb through, but I think they may have taken care of that in future editions. I read it several years ago. But I mean, otherwise it was a pretty flawless read. So that is A Pirate's Ransom. So
how was the heroine in that?
The heroine, well, she was true to the era. So, she wasn't wielding a sword and it was an old fashioned, so she was vulnerable, but she was also strong and likable, and you could totally see why she was head over heels for the sexy Captain Edmund Drake.
Ooh, okay. Who's the author on that one?
That's Jerry Brousseau.
I might be tempted into that one. I'm not gonna lie. I could be tempted.
It's
I like some spice.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, there are spicy scenes.
Ooh, okay. So let's put it out there. So let's say, the YA that we've been talking about, let's put that at 1, and 10 being erotica. Where, in your personal opinion, do you think this book falls?
Oh, maybe like a 6 or a 7 compared to like what is out there. I don't read like any erotica, so I mean, I'm probably like not a good judge of it. I don't even read that much steamy romance. But for me personally, like compared to the stuff I read, it's a 10. But compared to the stuff that's out there, it's probably just like a 6 or a 7.
Okay, which is decent. That's actually pretty decent for those that like a little heavy, spice with their stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. Okay. What's in the number 2 slot?
Okay, so number 2, and this is kind of an exciting one to talk about right now, because the author, I believe, is re-releasing it with a new title, and I don't know what the new title is. And also she's releasing like a sequel alongside it. But as it stands, the book is C, just SEA, by Heidi Kling. And this book it's one of those books that I had never heard of it, knew nothing about it. I simply saw it on the library shelf. And at the time, my son was like a newborn and he was like just starting to cry. And so I just like grabbed it and checked it out so that I'd have something to read when I got home, because I had to like get home and feed him. And it was just kind of like by chance that I stumbled upon it. We're back in YA land, by the way. And it was the most beautiful story that has stuck with me the last 5 years. I mean, I think about it all the time. It was just such a great book. And it's about a girl, Sienna, and her mom has died in a plane crash over the Indian Ocean. So she's going through PTSD, dealing with the loss of her mother and kind of hoping that maybe her mother will even turn up and that the plane crash didn't happen. And anyway, she used to love surfing, but she doesn't anymore since her mom died. She won't go near the ocean. And so her father suggests that she go and volunteer in Indonesia to help the children whose families were affected by that big tsunami that hit Asa. I think it's Asa, right? Is how you pronounce it in Indonesia, when that big tsunami in '04.
Oh yeah.
So because this book kind of takes place a little bit back there. So she goes to help these children and she meets this Indonesian boy and they fall in love, and it's just this beautiful, haunting romance. It's a good travel romance, and there's a lot of heart to it because it's not just some, shallow chick lit travel romance. It's like, she's really dealing with real pain and grieving, and so is the boy. He has like secrets that he's keeping from her, but he's also grieving, and so they can go through this thing together, and she learns to rekindle her love for the sea, and there's this whole ocean theme throughout the whole thing, and it's just like I have chills talking about it. It's this beautiful book.
Wow.
So that is C by Heidi Kling.
That also sounds interesting to me because it's multicultural as well.
It is, yes. And that's one of the things I love about it is you learn about, because I guess in Indonesia you have Islam and you have Buddhism and you have these different faiths, and they talk about it. They talk about religion and they visit temples. And I just thought that was very deep to go into for a YA book, and I really appreciated what I was learning while I was reading it.
That sounds really nice, actually. I have an extra appreciation for books that manage to take me to another place,
yes.
That's real.
Yes, yeah, where you can actually learn.
Yeah.
Yep.
Totally. Okay, so what is at the top of your list?
All right, number 1, my favorite romance at sea is To Catch a Pirate by Jade Parker. This is the book that inspired me to write, to write my own stories, and showed me that you can mix adventure and romance and have a perfectly delightful novel. So this was a YA book. I believe it came out in 2007. It's back in print now. It had gone out of print for a while, and then I see it again, at least ebook version. And this book is about Annalisa Townsend, and she is searching for a pirate who had wronged her father, and she's searching to avenge her father. And so she forges a letter of marque so that she can pretend to be a privateer of her own captain and sail the seas. And she has her first mate, Nathaniel Northrop, who is like interested in her, but he's kind of too plain for her. And anyway, she captures this young, sexy pirate, and she totally falls in love with him, but he's her captive, and and again, this is YA, so it's clean. But it's definitely like the tension is there and the feelings are there, and it's fun. You feel like you are watching a Pirates of the Caribbean movie, like without the magic. It's totally historical fiction. But it's just this delightful YA adventure romance, historical, and all pirates. And you have all the pirate stereotypes in there. But I mean, we love it. We love it when they say "R," and we love it when there's like a red-haired captain and all that kind of, just all those little things that tell you that this is a pirate story. It's all there. And it's when it ended, I was like dying for more books. There was like never anything added to it, but I mean, I wish she would have done a whole series on it.
All 5 of your books sound really good. You brought it with the recommendations.
I tried, and I had to really prune it down because like there are so many. For some reason, it seems a lot of the books I read have to do with like the ocean or have some kind of. So I have to make a shout out to the ones that didn't make the list, and those were Moonglass by Jessie Kirby and The Siren by Kiera Cass. Those are also, if you're looking for great young adult ocean themed, sea themed romantic reads, check out Moonglass and The Siren as well.
Now, The Siren, I remember when that came out, it was really making the rounds, and it had a lot of buzz when it came out.
Yes. Well, she self-published it first. We're talking about Kiera Cass, the author of the Selection series, for those who don't know. And the Selection, very popular young adult series, kind of dystopian romance. And so her first book was The Siren, which was a mermaid story, and she had self-published it. And it was fairly successful. And then it was later rewritten by her and republished. I think Harper Teen is her publisher, and so it's been re-released. And I never really tried to get into the original version because I knew it was being redone. So I read the most recent version, and I really enjoyed it. Yeah, there certainly was a lot of hype. You're right.
Yeah, I definitely remember. I'm like, oh yeah, this is the author of The Selection, and I did not read The Selection, but I was tempted to read the book. I mean, but I didn't read it though.
They're definitely worth reading. I mean, if you like kind of fluff, like if you just are in the mood for some super light reading, like I read them on an airplane, and it's perfect airplane reading. It's just light and fun and easy to read. So yeah, I really like Kiera Cass's stuff. And then Moonglass is sort of in the same vein as Sea, where it's a more serious book, same theme. We have a girl struggling, coming to terms with her mother's death, but she goes to the ocean and where it all happened, and meets a boy, and finds her closure. So these are all great stories to check out that I strongly recommend.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing those. You guys, I'll actually have links for all of the books she mentioned in the show notes, so you can check those out if you're curious. And, you mentioned that your number one pick is kind of what inspired you to start writing. So let's talk a little bit about you and what made you want to write in this particular genre. Is it because you've read so much of it and you just really like that subgenre? Or can you share a little bit about what made you write your American pirate romances?
Yes, absolutely. So just to take a quick step back, I write the American Pirate Romance series for Limitless Publishing. And the first book is Capturing the Captain, and that was released last year. And in about 2 weeks, we are going to be celebrating the release of the second book, Commanding His Heart. And these are adult romances. However, they're not super spicy. So, an older teen or something could read it, and but they're overall adult romance. So yes, it was really inspired by my childhood and lifelong love of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies that got me into pirates to begin with. And then
Okay.
that's kind of what got me interested in reading pirate books. And so when I read in particular To Catch a Pirate and A Pirate's Ransom, which was number 3 on my list, those two just really inspired me to try my own hand at it. I felt like this is a good subgenre with a lot to explore. And I had been seeing a lot of the same stuff where it all seemed to take place with English people and Regency and these, British pirates. And I thought, well, there were American pirates. We have, records that there were and who they were. Why hasn't anybody written a book about the American pirates? And so I decided to be the first to do that.
Okay, so we know that it's about pirates and we know it has a lot of romance, but are there any like genres that might touch your series? Like any fantasy going on there? Or?
In these particular books, I don't have fantasy. All my other books are fantasy. I'm also known for my Jordinia series, which is with my other publisher, 4814. And there are some of those books do have pirates in them, by the way, making cameos and such. But as for the American pirate romances, no, they're not fantasy. They are historical romance. So you could say they bump with adventure, action adventure, and they bump with historical fiction.
Okay. Well, since this is a series and your second book is coming out very soon, share with us a little bit, like a quick little synopsis about your series. We know you don't want to give too many spoilers, but tell us what it's about.
Sure. Okay. So the books are actually standalones, and so you can read them in any order. So I guess that makes it more of like a serial. And so the first book, I thought that, well, we have so many pirate books about a lady being kidnapped by pirates that I thought, why don't we make the girl the pirate? And so the captain actually who kidnaps her is a privateer. He's a pirate catcher, and thinking that she is a boy because she's wearing men's clothing. Her father is a notorious pirate who he was trying to capture, and he captures her instead, thinking it's a member of his crew. And so she is sort of brash and uncultured and used to being around her father and pirates, and now she's on this ship of reformed privateers. And when they discover that this is a woman, they think, well, what are we going to do with her? Does she even know anything? And so, and of course, she begins to fall in love with the captain. But she doesn't know for sure, is he only being nice to her because he's trying to use her to get information about her father? And then likewise, from the captain's perspective, well, is she only warming up to me because she is trying to get me to let her go? And so you have this sort of ambiguity there, but it's a very fun adventure love story and sort of a light read. And the second one that's about to come out is about a young woman in Jamestown, Virginia, and she stows away aboard a ship because she's trying to escape a betrothal to a very wicked old man that her parents have arranged. And she, it's definitely nasty. And she thinks that she's on a naval ship, but instead she's on a pirate ship. However, the man who she had followed there, right before she can be violated by these hungry pirates, the man whom she'd followed there, who's an acquaintance of hers, pretends to be her husband to kind of save both their butts. And so they have to pretend to be husband and wife, even though they're complete strangers, for this whole voyage to Barbados. So, that is the one that's going to come out on September 26th.
Awesome. So, you did mention that these are virtually standalones within a series or a serial type situation.
Yeah.
Do any of the characters cross at any time ever, like cameo style or anything?
No, they don't. At this point, they don't. I had toyed with, for the third book, kind of taking one of the characters from one of them. But at this time, they don't. They're completely different eras, different regions and different characters.
Okay, so the tie-in is just that they're all American pirates.
Exactly.
Okay. Awesome. So how many more do you have planned for this series?
I am thinking at this time, at least one more.
That's fun. A little 3 set.
Exactly.
Okay, I can deal with that.
Once you get 3, then they'll do the box set. So I kind of have to go for that at this point. But no, on the other side of things, I'm working on finishing the 5th book in my Jordania series. So I'm kind of trying to give everything, take turns between all the different projects.
Yeah, such as authors do. You guys are busy people. Yes, give us all the words. We want them.
Awesome. I can do that.
Of the 2 books or all the characters that you've written for this series, which is your favorite?
Oh my gosh, that is such a good question. And are we talking just about the pirate series?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Which is my favorite? I have to say at this time, I still really love the captain in my first book because he's bald and big and gruff and has like a Scottish brogue, and he's just so he's just so raw and rough and you wouldn't think that he is that, could be tender or be hero material, but he just has something so masculine and sexy about him, and plus, at heart, of course, he's a trying to reform. He's a pirate trying to reform, so he's a privateer, and so he's kind of got a heart of gold deep down in there. And so I have to say Captain James Morrow is my favorite.
Oh, so he sounds really nice. So he's obviously alpha, but he's not like ridiculous, right?
Exactly. He's like trying, because this is the era that, people are very religious and superstitious as well. So he's like trying to read his Bible and say grace before meals because he's trying to atone for the wrongs he's done and make himself clean with Parliament and everything. But at the same time, though, the fact that he's a sailor and a pirate, it doesn't really leave him. So he's still going to be gruff and swearing and not altogether perfect, but it just kind of makes him more endearing.
Yeah, it's kind of a clash, but it's like most people, right?
Right.
Most people are, yeah.
Exactly. I love flawed characters.
They're the best. I mean, if they're too perfect, they're boring. They've got to have some flaws,
Right. That's right.
Absolutely. Okay, great. So is there anything else you'd like to share with us about your American pirate romances before we wrap up for the night?
That is everything. If you go to ckbrooke.com, which is my website, there's a box right when you go in where you can enter your email address and subscribe, and you can get an email the morning that book is available. So if you want to know, like, when is it coming out? When can I get it? I can hook you up right in your email inbox if you go to my website.
Awesome. Is it available for pre-order on Amazon as well?
Not at the time of recording this. I know they're setting that up. I don't know if they are going to do the ebook pre-order, because I know that now publishers are debating whether it's worth it to do those pre-orders, because they kind of want all the sales to come on release day and not before. So I don't know if they're going to do that. I do know that I have my ARC reviewers, the advanced reader copy reviewers, are going to get their copies this weekend. So depending on when are you going to release this, Tamara?
It will be up on Wednesday, September 20th.
Okay, so but at the time of recording this, it would probably be too late to get an ARC from me. But if I'll say this, if it's before September 26th, so September 25th and any day before, if you, again, my website, ckbrooke.com, and that's Brooke with an E on the end. You can go to the contact form. If you contact me on September 25th or sooner and you would like an ARC to read and leave a review on Amazon and Goodreads of, then I can hook you up with an ARC of the PDF, a digital mark.
Oh, you guys get on it. Reach out to her. Okay, you've got like 5 days. Do it.
But you gotta leave an honest review. That's the only condition.
Yes, absolutely. And honest reviews are the best ones. If you wonder about how to do that, there's actually, I can have a link to a previous episode that tells you how to review a book. It's great. So if you want to try your hand at it, give Katie a little message and see how you do. It's a great time to start reviewing.
Awesome. I might even need to listen to that one. That's great. See if I've been doing it right all these years, because folks, I started out as a book reviewer before I was an author, so it leads to things.
Yeah, it definitely does. But yeah, so very cool. I will have all of Katie's links below, so you can find her on Twitter and her website and all of that. You'll find an Amazon link for her first book in this series and reach out to her. And that will be fun if you happen to be a lucky person that could review this early. Very cool. So thank you so much for coming on and sharing both your recommendations and introducing us to American pirate romances.
Thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure. Take care.
You too.
If you enjoyed today's interview and would like to show your support, there are a few things you can do. First, you can head on over to iTunes and give a positive 5-star review. You can follow me on Twitter. You can follow the Shelf Addiction Podcast on Spreaker, the only place where you can listen live and get broadcast notifications so that you never miss an episode. Most importantly, you can share this podcast with friends and family that enjoy bookish topics. Thank you for listening, and I will see you soon with another author interview. Until next time, happy reading.